You're watching the TBA Member Spotlight Series. Each episode, TBA President Michelle Greenway-Sellers has a virtual sit-down with members from across the state to check in and chat about topics of importance to the Tennessee lawyer. On today's episode, Michelle talks with Kinika Young, the Senior Director of Health Policy and Advocacy for the Tennessee Justice Center.
For our members who don't know you, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Kinika Young. I am originally from Montgomery, Alabama. I attended college at Florida A&M University and law school at Tulane University. I also spent a semester of law school at Vanderbilt in 2005 following Hurricane Katrina, which happened during my third year of law school. And I started my legal practice in 2006 at Bassberry & Sims, and I was there until 2017 when I left to join the Tennessee Justice Center, and I'm now the Senior Director of Health Policy and Advocacy at TJC.
Tell us a little bit about the Tennessee Justice Center and your role.
My role at TJC is to help protect the health safety net for low-income Tennesseans who have significant healthcare needs. So that includes children, people with disabilities, older adults, and just generally people who qualify for our Medicaid program. And so I work to educate people about health policies that would benefit low-income people who rely on the Medicaid program, and also policies that would improve access to care for people and make sure that everyone has access to quality health care in order to lead the best lives they can and reach their full potential. And so we work on not only defending against attacks to the Medicaid program, but also trying to push the state of Tennessee to do more innovative things to improve quality of care and access to care for all Tennesseans.
Wonderful. Your background is pretty impressive. I believe that you had worked your way up. You were a partner at Bassberry at the time that you left and went to the TJC. Is that right?
Yes, I was a partner at Bassberry & Sims in the litigation group. My practice area focused on managed care disputes. That was primarily representing healthcare providers and hospital systems when they had payment disputes with managed care companies or insurance companies, as they're more commonly known. And so that was really fulfilling work and very challenging. But around 2016, I began feeling called to do social justice work. And I was familiar with TJC from the time I spent actually in the Tennessee Bar Association Leadership Law Program. One of my classmates, I believe I was in the class of 2010, but don't quote me on that. One of my classmates was at TJC at the time, and part of our program was going to TJC and learning about the organization and taking a tour. And so even while I was still at Bass, I became a monthly donor to TJC, and I handled a pro bono case for one of their clients. And so that's how I got exposed to the mission of TJC. When the opportunity presented itself in 2017 for me to join the organization, I felt that it was the right time for me to make that transition to do the social justice work that I felt I should be doing at that time. And it was also a chance for me to kind of go back to the reason that I became a lawyer, which was to help people and to fight for underdogs in our system, in our society. I'd actually been a student attorney at the Vanderbilt University Domestic Violence Clinic, as well as the Domestic Violence Clinic at Tulane University. And so helping survivors of domestic violence was something that was really important to me. And so when I had the chance to kind of do similar work, working for TJC in terms of helping low-income people who didn't have access to justice, then that's something that was really attractive to me.
What does access to justice mean to you?
To me, access to justice is the principle that people should not face legal consequences that can have serious impacts on their lives without adequate representation and without the support that they need to navigate our justice system. A lot of times, people's interactions with court or with lawyers are during some of the worst times of their lives. It's either, they have a criminal justice issue or a family law issue or a housing issue or a healthcare problem. And so that's when people are the most at need. And it's really important that our system recognize that a lay person would be overwhelmed with trying to navigate our legal system without assistance, without understanding the different terms and the consequences for the legal action that they're involved in. And so I think it's important for everyone to have a resource, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a paralegal, whether it's a website that provides information to help them through that process. I think it's important that we provide that to everyone.
How would you recommend, or what would you recommend that an attorney do who's looking to get involved in pro bono work for the TJC or for some other organization?
I think all lawyers have a role to play, and if they're interested in doing pro bono work, there's an opportunity out there. There's no shortage of need in terms of pro bono help. So I think getting plugged into the bar associations is one way to find out about those opportunities, and also following organizations that are doing the work for people in need of pro bono services and connecting with those organizations. TJC has a pro bono program, and I'm sure other public interest law firms have pro bono opportunities for lawyers. So I think I would just encourage people to seek out those opportunities and understand that you won't be left on your own to figure out some new area of law that you're not experiencing in. Attorneys are available to help guide you through that process and make it as easy as possible. And it's also personally fulfilling when you're able to help a client and to do something that's a little different from your day-to-day routine. It's something that you can look back on as a highlight from your career. So I definitely encourage lawyers to break outside of their traditional practices and take a pro bono case in something that is unfamiliar to you, and it'll be a great learning experience and rewarding to help a client in need.
That's great advice. Who or what inspired you to become a lawyer?
That's a great question. It's funny because as long as I can remember, I had teachers or family members tell me that I would be a good lawyer. And I think it was because I was like a smart mouth kid. And I like to ask questions and to push back and to argue on things that I didn't understand or I didn't think was fair. And so I was just told, oh, you'd be a great lawyer. And I didn't know any lawyers. I didn't have any lawyers in my family or in my family's friend network. So what I knew about being a lawyer is what I saw on TV. And so for me, The Cosby Show was a big influence with Claire Huxtable. And I know a lot of Black women around my age would also point to Claire Huxtable as an inspiration for becoming a lawyer. So I don't think I'm unique in that. But yeah, I think it was just someone planted that seed. And luckily I had family and teachers and others who nurtured that potential and made me believe that that's something that was attainable for me, even though I didn't see someone who looked like me in real life doing that.
If you could go back in time in law school and give yourself advice, what would you say to yourself?
I would tell myself in law school to not take myself so seriously and to focus more on building relationships with my classmates and trying to have greater experiences that you can't really go back and recreate once you're practicing law. Life just comes at you and your daily routine becomes set. So I think my main advice would be to not take myself so seriously and really try to enjoy the experience a little more. And I know that is a lot easier said than done, because when you're in law school, you're scared to death and it's very hard and it's a lot of work. But I think that there was a better balance that I could have struck between being focused on the schoolwork and getting a job, and actually building relationships with my classmates, because I think once you are practicing your professional network, the larger it is, the more opportunities you have, the more growth you can have as a lawyer when you surround yourself with a good, strong network of people, and that includes your law school classmates. So I say don't take them for granted.
You were in law school at Tulane in New Orleans when Hurricane Katrina hit. Can you tell us a little bit about how that disaster changed your experience and influenced your professional path?
So when Hurricane Katrina hit during my third year of law school, it was right after I had clerked at Bassberry and Sims as a second year student, and it's interesting because the firm, the hiring partner, when he called to check on me because of the storm, he said, by the way, the hiring committee met and they decided to make you an offer to come to Bass after you graduate. And so in that, it was a whirlwind time for me. It was, it was filled with highs and lows. And the main thing that I realized from that experience is that there are always people willing to help. And it's important when you're in a situation to help that you play that role, you be that person, because it was really heartwarming for me to have my new colleagues at Bassberry and Sims wrap their arms around me and help me come to Nashville, find a place to live, get settled at Vanderbilt for that semester. It was really invaluable. And also at Vanderbilt, the professors and my classmates were very supportive. And so it just taught me that it's really important to recognize that when people are in need, everyone can do something. There's some small part that you can do to make that situation better for people. And so in my practice, I try to remember that, and to figure out, what is the role that I can play in this situation. And of course, you can't do everything. There's always some disaster happening in some location in the world, and it's not possible to work on all those issues and care about all those issues. But I think when there's something that hits home, that's close to you, to remember that your skills, your knowledge, your experience has value in helping other people.
What are some of your favorite things to do outside of work?
Well, pre-pandemic, my favorite thing to do was to travel. I've been to 6 out of the 7 continents, and I've lost count of how many countries, maybe 30 or so. And it was really something that I look forward to, because I really like learning about other cultures. And so my proxy for that, since I haven't been able to do much traveling since the pandemic hit, is to read a lot of books, listen to a lot of music, watch a lot of TV shows and movies. And the more diverse the culture is, or the better, is to kind of put myself in someone else's shoes and to experience life the way they experience it. So I'm a big consumer of arts, whether it's music or culinary arts or movies, and that sort of thing as my substitute for travel right now.
What practices or habits did you adopt in 2020 that you think you'll keep once things open back up?
One of the main things that I started doing was to exercise for at least 30 minutes, and I try to do that every day. And it's a lot easier now that I'm working from home all the time. My elliptical is in my office, and so to be able to log off and go straight to the machine and work out has been really helpful. And I'm reminded that there's a reason that health professionals recommend daily exercise. It's not just, to lose weight or, whatever your goal is. It's really an important habit to exercise your body, especially if you, have been sitting at a desk all day doing very challenging, mentally exhausting work. And so I think that's a habit that I hope that I will keep. And it's interesting because exercise was something that also helped me get through law school. If I was feeling stressed or just needed to decompress or take a break from schoolwork, I used exercise as that self-care technique. And so I think I've forgot about that for a few years. So now I'm getting back into the habit of regular exercise.
How has your work changed over the past year?
So a lot of my work is centered around meeting with partners, in-person meeting and collaborating about issues that cut across different sectors to try to build coalitions and to collaborate to move the work forward. And so because the pandemic has made in-person meetings not possible anymore, my work has shifted to doing a lot more Zoom meetings. That's become the norm in my day, but also just remembering to have one-on-one conversations with people. The work has gotten a lot more hectic, and people's schedules have really been filled up with activities. Surprisingly, there hasn't been as much downtime as some people may be experiencing during the pandemic. I haven't experienced a lot of downtime, and neither have my colleagues that I work with. So sometimes it's necessary to try to do one-on-one individual networking and collaboration. And so getting back to having more phone calls because you can't go and see someone at a meeting to touch base with them. So that's been an interesting consequence of the pandemic is the additional efforts that you have to make to use technology to your advantage and try to maintain those connections so that the work can continue and move forward.
Can you tell us a little bit about the kids that you serve?
Sure. So TJC helps children and families as well as other adults with access to healthcare. And so my role on the advocacy team is to make sure that other providers, organizations that also serve children are aware of eligibility for programs that provide health insurance access for kids. And so one of the main things that we've worked on is creating a coalition called Insure Our Kids. And that is focused on building a coalition of partners across the state to identify children who are uninsured and to screen them for eligibility for our TennCare or Cover Kids program and to help them enroll. It's really important that families have someone that can walk them through the process of submitting applications for these really invaluable programs. And we're really proud that that coalition has grown to about 26 partners across the state. And more recently, we focused on bringing on organizations that serve communities of color so that we can address the racial disparities in terms of children who are Black or Hispanic having higher uninsured rates than white children. And so having a diverse group of partners who can touch on all the different families that we know are in need out there has been one of the highlights of the Insure Our Kids campaign. And so making sure that the programs that are available to help kids, that we are taking full advantage of all of those, is how we also serve children on the advocacy team, in addition to the casework that we do, the individual casework. And those partnerships and the casework allows us to identify systemic issues that impact children. For example, there is an issue with a newborn coverage gap. And so we identify issues like that, and then we produce information to educate people about them, to be proactive, to prevent that problem from happening. So it may be producing a blog for our website, or producing a flyer and asking our partners to share that with their networks, to try to address those problems that we see from the work that we do, to make sure that, to the extent those issues are avoidable, that we are doing everything we can to make sure no kid is going without the health care that they need.
That's great. I know you're a fan of live music, but 2020 didn't allow you to get out and see live music in person. What are some of your favorite performers you've been able to see live?
So it's funny that you asked this question, because I was just talking to a friend the other day. I saw the announcement that the Schermerhorn Symphony Center was looking to reopen this summer. And I recall that one of the best shows that I saw was at that venue, and it was by Esperanza Spalding, who is a young jazz musician. And it was amazing. And I bragged about the Schermerhorn in terms of it having really great acoustics, and very probably most people don't know or wouldn't expect for Nashville, of all places, to have such a state-of-the-art symphony center, which has these really world-renowned artists who come and are able to perform in this amazing venue with the best acoustics I've ever heard. So that's one performance that stands out in my mind. Another is Sade and John Legend, who performed here in Nashville. So I'm really looking forward to getting those artists, getting access to them again. And it was one of those things about Nashville that was a pleasant surprise for me, since I'm not a country music fan, and that's all most people hear about Nashville or know about Nashville. I think it was really a pleasant surprise to see that there's musicians of all types, and all types of different music genres, who see Nashville as a welcoming audience for their art. And I'm really grateful that I get to experience that.
Is there anybody that's on your wish list for the future, for seeing them in person?
I'm trying to think. I recently got into the NPR Tiny Desk series, and one of the best ones that I saw on the NPR Tiny Desk was Lizzo, and she just seemed like she would be amazing in a live performance. So I would definitely put Lizzo at the top of my list for concerts to go to when the world reopens.
What advice would you give to young lawyers?
I would tell young lawyers to really be proactive about the skills that they want to develop, and the opportunities that they think will help them grow as an attorney, and not to be shy about seeking feedback from the people that they work with, and really bringing all of their experiences to the conversations that they're having with their colleagues. I can remember as a young lawyer, I was shy about speaking up in meetings, and my colleagues were like, "We value your opinion. You have a perspective. You have thoughts that can contribute to this practice. So you should really feel confident about speaking up. And I think that that's really the goal of diversity, equity, and inclusion, is not just to have representation from diverse groups, it's to have diverse thoughts. And so if you, you know, have an opportunity to share those thoughts, then that's really something that you should seize upon and contribute to the important conversations that are happening around you, because your input does matter.
Kinika, thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us. Thanks for all you do at the TJC. I am amazed by you and all you're contributing to the state of Tennessee, to the children, and to all the individuals in Tennessee. You amaze me. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thanks for having me.